Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I'm not sure what time you're going to watch this lecture video. Well, anyway, good day, everyone. Live from my bedroom. Anyway, so yes, as yeah, I hope you don't mind. There are two names on the screen. I have to. I'm using two um computer to do this recording. It's been a while. I'm not doing this, so I'm still figuring out how to do it again. Well, anyway, I hope in your screen you can see the handout that I gave you last time. It's about the political structure of the colonial society. So here you actually have the political structure that was introduced to us by the colonial government. During this time, it was the Spaniards. So I believe we already discussed this part. But for those who are not able to listen to that lecture, I will be giving you a short recap for this, maybe 5 minutes about this political structure in the colonial society. So as you see in your screen, and I believe you also downloaded the handout that I give you. So you have here from the central government down to the barangay level, where this system of government was actually introduced to us by the Spanish colonial government. As we mentioned in our discussion before, that when we talk about political structure of government, basically in the pre-colonial times, we have um, the barangay system, which is a very small unit of government where you only have 30 to 100 families. But when the Spaniards arrived, they actually introduced to us this kind of government, the centralized form of government. So in this part, you will see that you have there the central government headed by the governor general, then you have the alcaldía mayor headed by the alcalde mayor, then municipio pueblo headed by the governor gobernadorcillo or gobernadorcillo if you pronounce it in Spanish, then the barangay headed by the cabeza de barangay. So all of these structures was very present during the colonial times. So if also you also notice side by side with the alcaldía mayor, you have the corregimiento. So the corregimiento, this is the unpacified territories where kung mapacified na siya, so during the Spanish occupation, when you say pacified, ito yung the people are already converted to Catholicism. At the same time, they are already paying taxes to the government. So dito banda, kung mapacified na siya, mawala na yung korehimento. Diba, the corregimiento headed by the corregidor, maging alcaldía mayor na siya, headed by the alcalde mayor. Then after that, provincial level, so meron na tayong municipio level, headed by the gobernadorcillo, then kabisa de barangay. Tapos with all of these structures, as we mentioned in our previous discussions, ang Governor General yung pinakamataas. And during this time, the Governor General is really so powerful. He has the executive power, legislative power, even the judicial power. And then, dito naman, since ganun siya kalawak yung kanyang kapangyarihan. So basically, if you notice, katabi nito, you have the three countervailing institutions. So ideally, the purpose here is actually to run check and balance. So you have the Royal Audiencia, Residencia, and Visita. So all of this is to check if there might be abuses or excesses done by the government officials, particularly the Governor General. Ang ano dito is, example, yung Royal Audiencia, is like the Supreme Court of the land. Pero ang problema lang, the Royal Audiencia, the one who appoints the judges in the Royal Audiencia are actually the Governor General. Kaya yung joke natin sa klase, how can you check somebody if he is your boss? So parang yung sinasabi natin na parang expectation versus reality. And expectation is ideally these people are supposed to serve as a sort of check and balance to the Governor General, but in reality, hindi sila nakaka-function. Residencia, this is the power of the incoming Governor General to investigate the incumbent Governor General. So kung titingnan mo, parang maganda naman. Anomalies can always be checked by the incoming. But during this time, I think we did mention this in our class, that basically the atmosphere of corruption was also terrible. that sometimes this power, this residential power, was actually abused by some of the incoming governor general to to extort the incumbent. At sometimes naman, since the atmosphere of corruption was also terrible during that time, sometimes the incoming governor general, not necessarily they will extort money. Sometimes it's the incumbent actually would also offer. Parang, anyway, ikaw naman papalit sa akin. So here's the price for the favor that you are going to do for me. And then the other one is you have the visita. So in your handout, you have there the Consejo de las Indias. Yeah, you have there Consejo de las Indias because the colonial government did not actually, the Spanish government at the time, never really, kasi marami silang colonies. So with their many colonies, they actually administer it through the Consejo de las Indias or the Council of Indies. So from the Council of Indies, so basically the Philippine colony, we were actually ruled by Spain through Mexico. Kaya di ba yung binabanggit natin that Spain has actually 250 years of history. No, Mexico, I mean, has 250 years of history with the Philippines. So with that, sometimes itong Consejo de las Indias or the Council of Indies will actually send a secret investigatory body. So this is the visita. So the one who conducts the visita is called visitador or the investigator. So in reality, there are institutions or they have ways how to check the different many colonies that they have. But as we mentioned, this is expectation versus reality. Ano siya eh, parang at that time, hindi naman ganun kadami ang mga Espanyol sa Philippines. So it was easy for them if there is a new galleon coming in the Philippine colony and then new Spaniards coming. So it's easy for them to identify sino yung bagong dumating, and there might be, if this person is roaming around trying to ask certain questions to some officials and people. So sometimes the secret investigation is not secret at all. It's easy for the Spanish officials to identify, or even they have some spies maybe to investigate some of these new Spaniards na pagalagala sa Philippine colony. So with that, it was easy for them to identify then the visitador who was in the Philippine colony. Kaya minsan, they will offer an offer that you cannot refuse. Kaya nga yung joke nila parang, ano siya, yeah, expectation versus reality. They have countervailing institutions. They're supposed to be check and balance. But since the Philippine colony was quite far, even in Mexico context, medyo malayo pa rin yung Pilipinas. Kasi you have still to cross the Pacific Ocean. Kaya with that, hindi sila talaga na-check. Kaya sabi nila, the government officials, particularly the governor general, at some point became the yung term nila? The fountainhead of graft and corruption. So, unfortunately, that was what happened before. Yan ang joke natin minsan, the Filipinos are, by nature, we are fast learner and then sentimental. In a way that this kind of government, bakit siya pala fountainhead of graft and corruption? Kasi according to some accounts, most of the governor general in the country, in the colony, was not really qualified for the position. Most of them were actually the highest bidder of the position. Ibig sabihin, halos binili na nila yung kanilang posisyon. So, normal, if you invested something, dapat may return of investment at mas maganda, mayroong profit. So that's the reason why during that time the corruption was really terrible. Most of them do not actually have moral, they don't have morality to resist corruption. In a way, with that context, if you bought your position, most of the greed of human beings, the greed of men, trying to get what they have invested and then some profit. And then at some point also, there was a time that the political context in Spain was also chaotic. Ang gulo nila that they have the liberals versus the conservatives. Sometimes ang muno ang liberals, minsan naman ang mga conservative. Kaya there was even a time that in the Philippine context, halos 4 na beses tayo nagpalit ng Governor General. So, ibig sabihin, kung ikaw yung Governor General, hindi mo alam how long you will stay in power. So you've invested so much with your position. So parang the moment you set foot in the Philippine colony, parang mangurakot ka na para meron ka ng return of investment and profit right away. And then, yes. So with this, bakit sinasabi nila it was the Spanish government who kind of really influenced to us itong sistema ng corruption? Um, Kasi ang ano dito, ito example, you have the barangay, because the highest position only open for the Filipinos or Indios at the time, yung tawag nila sa atin, were actually hanggang munisipyo lang or pueblo. So hanggang gobernadorcillo ka lang. You can never be in the provincial level more of the national level. So hindi ka pwedeng maging alkalde mayor at maging governor general. Hanggang gobernadorcillo ka lang at kabisa de barangay. So these two, itong kabisa de barangay, they're the one who collect taxes house to house. Tapos kino-consolidate ito ng gobernadorcillo. Pero unfortunately, with this position kasi, hindi mo kailangan mo kasi meron kayong mga quota of taxes that you need to collect. Kaya kung hindi mo ito makolekta, you will be penalized. So eventually, this who constitute the barangay level and the municipal level realize this position is actually an opportunity to enrich ourselves kasi may access sila sa pera. So ang ginawa nila para sure sila na hindi maka-abono or ma-penalize for not collecting the enough taxes. So most of them eventually collected more than the prescribed amount. So pinapatungan nila yung mga taxes, yung mga buwis na kanilang kinokolekta, which eventually yung iba, most of it, yung sobra doon, ay pinapacket nila. So from there, yan, joke nila, yung sa Milo ba yun? Small thing starts from, a great thing starts from small beginning. So basically, ano yung konsepto. Pero by nature, actually, Filipinos' political structure, it's not really encouraged, we're not encouraged to do corruption. Kasi, yung style natin sa pamumuhay before the pre-colonial times, uso sa atin yung bayanihan system, yung pagtutulungan. Kaya unfortunately, a new system was introduced to us, and then, Filipinos also easily adopted it, unfortunately. And then, hanggang ngayon, so the Spaniards were here for 333 years. And this year, we are celebrating the 125th anniversary of our independence. So it's still very young. Hindi pa tayo nakakalahati sa 333 years ng mga Espanyol. So anyway, sabi nila, ang kabataan ng pag-asa ng bayan, and hope in your generation, there's more hope for us. So now let's proceed to the colonial policies and native responses. So with these colonial policies and native responses, so ito yung mga polisiya na inintroduce ng mga Espanyol sa atin. So you have there the taxation, the forced labor, the government monopoly, and the harsh agrarian policies. So some of you, I think we did cover this already also. Anyway, just a little, balikan na ng konti. So taxation, so the ultimate form taxation sa panahon ng mga Espanyol is yung tribute. Ito yung amount na binabayaran ng mga natives in recognition of the Spanish sovereignty. And eventually, this tribute was abolished kasi mayroon paraming nagreklamo na parang hindi daw maayos yung pagkukolekta. So, naging napalitan ito ng sidula, which is actually a graduated poll tax based on the income of the taxpayer. So, aside from this, actually, yung 3 sidula is para din siyang, what do you call this? Identification. That's why once you go somewhere else in the Philippine colony at the time, importante may sidula ka to identify where you're coming from. And then so aside from this sidula, maraming mga compulsory contribution na simbahan, yung mga novenas, different kinds of prayers, bell ringing, and other rituals of the church. So with this is the taxation. So ito yung ini-implement nila sa mga lugar na pacified. And then down there, you have the forced labor. Hopefully my screen is moving because on my end it's moving. So you have there Forced labor or pulo is servicios personal or forced labor. The one who do the forced labor are called pulistas or the laborers. According to the provision, ang forced labor na ito, lahat daw ng mga kakalalakihan, all able-bodied men na may kakayahang gumawa from age 16 to 60. And then, dapat daw hindi ma-disturb ang planting season at harvest season. Same time, kung taga saan ka, dun ka lang mag-render ng forced labor. But yun nga, it's 40 days. And then, ang ano dito is that sa forced labor, ang mga pulista dito, kasi when the Spaniards arrived, they're the one who introduced to us the usage of roads and bridges. So, nung may mga daanan na, so of course, meron na din, tawag ito, wait, did I turn off my video? Or something wrong with my camera? It's okay. Okay, I continue. I think it's my internet. It's fluctuating. So hopefully this is still okay. So anyway, I'm going back to yeah, okay. Of course, I'm sorry about that. I'm kind of confused why my camera is turned off on my other laptop. I'm not doing anything. Okay. So yeah, the forced labor, they're the one when the Spaniards are basically yung society kasi natin, di ba, we're surrounded with many different kinds of we are an archipelago surrounded with waters. We have lakes, we have rivers. So basically sa tubig tayo yung means of transportation natin. But when the Spaniards were here, they introduced the more of the usage of roads. So then also the introduction of paggamit ng mga iba't ibang klaseng tulay. So, anyway, so with this, ang mga pulista, mga forced laborers, ang gumagawa nito. So they're the one who do the, they're the one who do the, who will build the roads and bridges. Some of them became rowers and archers of the Spanish expedition. And then yung iba taga-putol ng mga kahoy sa bundok for nagagamitin for the galleons. Yung malalaking barko na gamit ng mga Espanyol before. So, hindi naman ganun mahirap kung pakinggan mo yung pag-render ng forced labor. Unfortunately, all of those provisions ay doon lang actually sa papel nakikita. Example, yung edad 16 to 60 years old, so the lower limit is 16, the upper limit is 60. So, ang problema, wala namang mga birth certificate ang mga tao doon. So, it was hard to identify who is exempted, who is not exempted. Tapos, ano lang dito, kasi diba sabi nila kasi sa provision, those who render forced labor, meron lang rasyon ng pagkain, may konting allowance from the government. Unfortunately, yung mga allowances na yon at mga provisions na yon ay hindi nabibigay sa mga pulista. So, with that, but for the Spanish officials, the more pulistas means more money for them. Kasi since kung nakurakot nila yung mga provisions for the laborers, for the pulista, the more na silang makukuha, malagay ng mga pangalan, the more mas marami silang nakukurakot. Kaya unfortunately, even yung mga below 15 and sometimes above 16 na, since wala naman lang patunay na ano yung edad nila. So most of them, even they're beyond the age of 60 and below 16, many of them were required. So basically, sa klase natin, yung mga kalalakihan, if you were born during that time, so for sure, you have to render forced labor. Pero, meron lang provision. You can actually, yung term dito sa handout ninyo, the only way out of the polo was the payment of a falya. So, ano yung falya? Magkano yung falya? Which is actually 1.5 real every day for 40 days. So, ibig sabihin, you have to pay at least, 60 reales for 40 days. Tama ba? I'm not sure if my mathematics is correct. But yeah, you have to pay at least 60 reales just to be exempted. Pero ang problema, di ba, balik tayo sa taxation natin, ubos na nga yung pera nila sa kababayan ng mga taxes, di ba, yung tribute, talagang sidula, then eventually meron pa silang mga compulsory contributions sa church. So I don't think many of those pulistas during the time can actually afford to pay for the exemption fee. But aside from that, we also have government monopolies. So ano yung mga government monopolies? So you have there the Bandala system, the galleon trade, the tobacco monopoly. So ang sistema ng Bandala system na to, lahat ng mga tao, yung mga natives during the time, were required na magbenta lang kailang produkto doon sa government store. So actually under the system, yung government required each province to meet certain quota of commodities. Kaya meron lang mga quota sa commodities. So, anong quota yun? Example, talon muna tayo sa tobacco monopoly, yung tobacco monopoly. Sa tobacco monopoly na to, yung gobyerno during this time, nag-designate sila ng mga certain provinces na wala silang ibang itanim kundi tobacco lang. So, di ba, which this monopoly brought malaking profit actually sa government. So, on the contrary, yung mga farmers yung nagsasuffer. Kasi unang-una, you cannot eat tobacco for breakfast. Diba? You cannot, even for snacks, hindi pwede. So with that, there was a scarcity of food. Kaya sabi nila, yung tobacco monopoly, kasi halos, ang dami lang district, meron tayong mga lugar, tawag nila tobacco districts, na kung saan these places will plant nothing but tobacco. So kung wala ka ibang matanim, yun nga, scarcity of food yung resulta, your famine. Kasi kung kailangan mo bumili ng bigas, ng provision mo, under the Bandala system, you have to sell, you have to buy it to the government store. And then yung mga produkto mo rin, you have to sell it to the government store. So dito, ang problema dito, if you're able to read your handout already, yung abuses is actually enforced labor and cheating in the forces of the tobacco, or only few of the problems that the native of the tobacco planting districts faced. Kasi ang ano dito, even yung classification ng kanilang mga dahon, minsan dinadaya sila actually. Dinadaya sila ng mga buyers nila. And then, unfortunately, they were not also paid in cash. Sometimes, binibigyan pa nga sila ng mga promissory note. Which is, di ba, if you're the farmer, you work so hard for it, and then, dinadaya ka pa, tapos, hindi ka pa babayaran lahat, promissory note, yung gagamitin. At the same time, aside from the promissory note, minsan nire-raid pa nga yung mga bahay ng mga farmers. Kasi di ba under the Bandala system, merong quota of certain commodities. Kaya para sure na ma-receive nila or they will reach the quota that's being actually given by the government for the tobacco. So, kailangan nilang suyurin yung mga bahay ng mga tobacco farmers na baka kasi hindi binibenta lahat. So unfortunately, even yung mga farmers ng tabako, hindi nga sa halos makatabako na kanilang sariling produkto kasi nire-raid na sila ng government. Then ito naman galleon trade. Ito yung officially known as Manila Acapulco trade. Pero wala naman talaga masyadong participation ang Pilipinas sa trade na to. Kumbaga, yung mga galleons from Acapulco, Mexico, will bring their products to the Philippines. And then yung mga Chinese junks, yung mga sakyang pandagat from China, will also bring their products dito as sa Pilipinas. So parang naging parking lot alang ang Pilipinas where they exchange their products, and then in-demand products from Acapulco, Mexico will reach China, and Chinese products will also reach Acapulco, Mexico. And then, ano yung mga yumaman dito? Yung mga Espanyol who were able to participate in this kind of trade. Pero yung mga Pinoy masyado wala. Unfortunately for this galleon trade, hindi masyado na-develop yung ating commerce. Kasi masyadong paranoid yung mga Espanyol during this time. Well, may basis naman yung pagparanoia nila. Kasi hindi lang kasi sila ang may interest sa Philippine archipelago. The Dutch was very present. The British was also roaming around. At some point, natalo sila ng mga British. Dutch presence was so pronounced in parts of Mindanao. And then, before sa dumating, diba, the areas of Mindanao, we have a very rich trade relationship as early as 9th, 10th century with neighboring kingdoms, even as far as China. Kaya nga sabi nila, diba, before the Philippines, there was Butuan already. Kasi meron na mga Chinese annals, there are accounts mentioning about Butuan already. So these are the ancient kingdoms. So they were so paranoid that baka makagain ng alliances yung mga Pinoy again with outside forces and neighboring kingdoms. So baka mapa-overthrow sila. So they stopped that kind of international trade and they focused on the galleon trade. So yeah. Now let's have the harsh agrarian policies. So with these agrarian policies, ginamit ng mga Espanyol yung Regalian Doctrine. Sinasabi nila na by virtue of conquest, lahat ng mga lupain ay pagmamay-ari na ng hari ng Espanya. So kumbaga yung hari ng Espanya, he can give the lands to those na gusto niyang bigyan. So, yeah, assuming, masyado lang assuming, no? So, unfortunately, by this Regalian Doctrine, maski ilang siglo na kayo nakatira sa lugar na yan, by virtue of this, belief nila, yung doctrine nila, is that nawawala yung ancestral domain natin kasi according to them, sa kanila na daw yun. And then, yeah, so here you have the encomenderos or encomenda system, which eventually was replaced by the hacienda system. So dito, yung mga encomienda headed by the encomendero, ideally, the encomenderos, they make sure that people are taken care of, and also they're given a land, they're being entrusted lands to these people, yung encomendero who will head or who will oversee the encomienda. So yung mga encomienda, ito yung mga tao dito is ito yung mga newly converted or i-convert ng Spanish government to Catholicism, and eventually they will also pay taxes. And then, unfortunately for the encomienda system, maraming abuses na nangyari. So it was replaced with the hacienda system, a land grant from the king. But still, whether it's encomienda or land grant from or hacienda, ang ano doon is maraming nawawala ng mga lupa ng mga natives during that time who were really evicted and displaced, unfortunately. And then now let's go to the causes of the early uprising. So dito, so ibig sabihin, there was a reaction. Hindi naman lahat winelcome ng mga Pinoy. Diba, there was a reaction. In fact, before sa 1896 revolution, according to Chidoro Agoncillo, ano na siya parang yung mga Pinoy before really already staged more than 100 revolts and uprising. Pero yun nga, unfortunately, all of these revolts were actually fragmented. Diba? Maraming mga rason yung pag-aalsa nila. We try to capsulize it into four. You have there yung religious uprising, personal grievances, opposition to Spanish imposition, and the agrarian complaints. So makita natin, iba-iba yung kadahilan na iba na offend personally by the government officials or mga pare, so they don't like it. So nag-alsa. Iba naman, they don't like to pay taxes or tribute, which eventually became cedula. Iba ayaw mag-forced labor, ayaw maging pulista. Iba ayaw magtanim ng tabako or the tobacco monopoly. So all of this, they oppose to the Spanish imposition, kaya marami sa kanila nagpabundok kasi they don't like to be under this kind of system. Tapos yun naman, religious uprising, some of it, example, yung mga babaylan, yung mga shamans before in the pre-colonial times, they were so powerful and influential in the community. Kasi walang pagsasalong masimulan, walang gathering, walang pagtatanim, walang pag-harvest na masimulan kung wala sila sa yung presence that they always have to start. Kasi these are the group of people or individuals that people believe that they have access or they can communicate to the spirit world. During that time, grabe yung mga paniniwala ng ating mga aninuno. But when the Spaniards arrived, as far as Christianity is concerned, yung mga pinagagawa nila was considered pagan and discouraged by the friars. Kasi some of them nag-alsa din sa itong kadahilanan. And then, yeah, agrarian complaints, yung mga nawala ng lupa. Yung iba naman, iba kasi mayroong hacienda system. So yung mga, wala kasing matinong survey system at the time. If you remember, Rizal was also trying to study land surveying because of this concern. Walang matinong land surveying at the time that kung may yung mga hacienda ng mga religious orders before, it was actually easy for them to say, yung lupa mo, kasama yun sa hacienda namin, magbabayad ka ng rent. Unfortunately, some of the rents are also very expensive, or kung hindi man nagsimulang expensive, pataas siya ng pataas to the point na mababaon sa utang yung mga farmers. So yung iba, they don't like this kind of system, so nag-alsa. So makita mo, they have valid reasons to really go against the Spaniards. and to revolt. But all of these reasons were very, I know, parang they were not able to realize that all they have common grievances caused by the common enemy, the Spaniards. So masyadong fragmented yung kanilang, iba-iba yung kadahilanan nila eh. They were not united to go against a common enemy. So we might be wondering, how come na ang tagal na na-realize ito? So how come that it took them a while to really be united? So I will cut this video muna so that we can actually have ingay ng president. Hopefully hindi na record yun. So anyway, so I will cut this part muna. We will continue with the factors on the next video para hindi masyadong mahaba yung ano dito, yung recording. So this is part 1, and then I will be recording the next video about the factors that delayed the development of Filipino national consciousness, as well as discussing natin sa next video, factors that led to the development of Filipino national consciousness. So, okay, thank you everyone, and see you in the next video.